This is going to be a supplement to my introductory video. And in this one, I want to elaborate a little bit more on some of the information I talked about on the introduction. This is mostly just going to be talking about certain things to hopefully give you some more information, give you more options, and open up doors to get you some more resources. Some of them, unless somebody's told you or you found it on your own, it's just hard to know what's out there. It's really difficult to find out what's your best source for the information and the supplies that you need. And what I want to go down today is I want to go over websites and companies I found over the internet that I've been able to use to be able to get part supplies for the rail side. I want to start on the rail side first. In my situation, in my yard, we move a lot of cars. We move cars. Some of them I move by myself, others I move with another company. And our rail is supplied by Norfolk Southern. They bring in and they pull our cars. And since bringing up Norfolk Southern, that's something else I want to touch on, something I want to encourage you to do is to work with your railroad provider who brings in your cars and pulls them. Try to get to know the crews, try to get to know the conductor, if possible get to know your train master. And through the course of getting to know them, try to find out what their requirements are, what are their priorities. Their number one priority is to get your cars in and get them out as safely and as efficiently as possible. And then when ask them what do they prefer, there's certain things. Now maybe you'll be like a lot of guys I know. They don't do anything to the cars. The railroad will place them under your towers and they will take them away for you and you will do nothing. If that's the case, then this does not apply to you. But if you're somebody like me that you handle a lot of cars, figure out what your railroad conductor, what's their policy, what do they want, and try to do everything in your power to accommodate them. One thing I've learned through reading what's available on the website from Norfolk Southern and talking to other individuals, part of a conductor and engineer's pay and benefits package is predicated upon how long they take at a siding to drop off and pick up cars. The more efficiently and the more safely they can come in and do that on a regular basis, it amounts to a certain number of accumulated hours per drop, per week, per month, per cycle, however it is that they calculate it out. How long do they have to stay there? And if you can do things to help speed them up, they will, in my experience, they have, and unless you've got some very unfriendly people that are dropping off your cars, in time they should reciprocate. And in small ways, they'll do things to help make your job easier. Anybody can be a jerk, anybody can be difficult to work with. But if you put forth the effort to show them that you value their job and you value their time, hopefully they will reciprocate by valuing you and your time. One of the things we do over here is we try to make sure we put all of our empty cars on as few ladders as possible. Preferably get them all shoved down one ladder so that when they come in, they just come in and they hook onto one ladder and then they go. And we also, because we have hazmat cars, I print out all of the empty waybill residue BOLs and I print them out, put them in a Ziploc bag, and I attach them all to one end of my string of cars. That way, whether the conductor does or does not have in his possession the copies of the waybills, he can still take these physical copies as proof that they've been released, proof that they have a destination to go to, and he can take my cars. That speeds them up it speeds me up, because if you haven't figured it out by now, even though it's very important to get your cars in on a regular basis, it is probably a little bit more critical to get your cars out on a regular, smooth, consistent basis. And so I just want to throw that out. Figure out what they want as far as how many brakes they want set, how they define fouling a line, how they define distances and gaps, and try to do whatever falls within your power to do to accommodate that. And hopefully they will respond. My crews that come in here, they've been great. Their service has been good. I try to talk to as many and get to know as many of the conductors as possible. And talking about giving a shout out to some people that have been helpful. We struggled the first 2 years we were here with very poor performance from Norfolk Southern, very poor. And it was a combination of several factors. Well, one of the great big improvements came, we had a new train master. His name was Ron Carpenter. He came in, he was a highly experienced guy, and he was a very mature guy. He was a smart guy, and he really, actually, saw that what he did as in his job was to serve, and to serve his customers, and to serve and take care of his crews that were under his authority. Well, Ron, didn't take very long, and Ron worked with us, helped out, began to share things, began to help, and it was night and day, the improvement in service. And it's never gone downhill since then. Ron's moved on, bigger and better. We got another train master, Damian Wilson. Fantastic, great to work with, good guy, helpful. He's moved on to bigger and better. And that's nothing, I don't know about you, but here we rotate through train masters fairly often. I try to stay in touch. I try to get their email addresses, so if I have a problem with a car, that is something that is, I believe, or they've told me, is something they can deal with, and I just email them directly. And I would encourage you, if possible, to try to do that. The more positive relationships you can cultivate, the smoother your job will get. That has been my personal life experience. And then when you run into those that do not want to be your friend, they don't want to work with you, they don't really care about you or your needs, fine, screw you too, buddy, if that's what you want to be. But I'm still going to be who and what I am, and that is try to be accommodating, try to be helpful, try to not be that person. It's still true. It was true when it was first said, and it's still true today, about treating others the way that you yourself want to be treated. And it may or may not be reciprocated, but you'll probably find out that more people than not will respond and reciprocate in a very positive way. So I just want to throw that out. Anything to help make your job a little easier, a little smoother. If we can help eliminate just one more little irritant, it's going to be worth it. Now, jumping on to another thing here is vendors that I use. And these are all internet, and it all come for rail. First one I want to mention is Alden Company. They are out of Waukegan, Illinois. Their email or website is Alden, ALDONCO.com. And from Alden, I buy switch brooms, derailleur. I also bought a re-railer, used it once and sold it to another company, so I didn't lose any money. But it's where I bought my one re-railer from. I also buy switch brooms, buy lights, blue signs, other signage, sign holders, Get them from Alden. They got a pretty great selection. Another one I want to mention is Railroad Tools and Solutions. It's rrtools.com, and they're based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. From them, I buy primarily brake sticks and knuckle pins. I've got a couple other things out of there. The turnaround's pretty good. Same thing with Alden. If it's in stock, you'll get it fairly quickly. And just so happens the last two things I ordered from Railroad Tools were not in stock, so I had to wait almost 2 weeks until they got in and got them. But very accommodating, very helpful. Another place where I have been buying my specific decals, like home shop decals, things like that, I buy from a company called International Nameplate Supplies. Their website is inps.net/rail. And like I said, that's where I get my decals. When I have cars that have to be OTMA'd through the FRA, which OTMA is one-time movement approval, you have to put a home shop on each side of the car so that nobody accidentally sends it to a refinery to get loaded and somebody loads it. It's just a warning, but you have to have them on there, and you got to get a good one. So that's where I've been buying them from. Another company is called Rail Safe Training. So if you go to their website, it's railsafetraining.com. They have online classes. They're pretty good. Actually pretty good. They will come on site and do an on-site review if you want. Just get ready to shell out a few $1,000s. But it depends on what your setup and what your stuff is. All of my stuff is handled by training videos. Like I said, they're pretty good training videos. And when they're done, you get to download a certificate. And that gets to go into your employee file. And that gets to go into meeting the requirements of the FRA, because FRA and NFPA 58 and OSHA and all the other alphabets and the insurance companies, oh God, just don't even get talking about insurance companies. But they want to know that you have to have not just training, but function-specific, job-specific training. Rail-safe training will get you that, even if you're not running an engine. But if you're doing anything with rail cars, if you're setting brakes, if you are, just anything to do with rail cars, just get their basic training program they got, and it's like $400, maybe a little bit less than that. And you can take it, and then you've got so many weeks to take it, and then it will stay active. And then I believe they send you an email in about a month or two for you to retake or take a refresher over what it is. But you can still have access to it, and then log in and take refresher training on it. And so what I do is I have any other employees, they take it. I take one extra course that they don't take. And then once every 3 years, take the basic all over again, and that qualifies for your refresher training. CTEP now has, CTEP now is, what is it? It's run through Perks now. Anyway, CTEP now has refresher training for rail car. So after you take your rail car CTEP, take your basic principles in your CTEP, you can go and take the refresher now. And then that also goes to meet the federal training requirements that we're all subject to. Then in other general websites, other companies, I have a catwalk system. I have 4 rail towers. I can offload 4 cars at once. And it's just one continuous catwalk with a shelter up in there. And I bought mine from a company called Benco Products. Website is bencoproducts.com. They're just outside of Cleveland, Ohio. It's a place called Sheffield Village, Ohio. My sales rep that I've dealt with is Doug Ingram. Great guy, smart guy. Um, Guy's been in the industry a long time. He is knowledgeable in several fields of what he's talking about. I would suggest if you need a catwalk, you need an individual tower, I'll just go to their website, look at their website, and maybe you'll stumble across something. Another company I did not use, but I've gotten pricing from in the past is Safe Rack. Um, Safe Rack's good stuff. You'll pay for it. And, get ready to get a second mortgage, but you'll pay for it. But you'll probably think it's worth it because it is. It's pretty good stuff. Biggest difference between Benco and Safe Rack is Safe Rack will sell you the equipment, but they want to install it. They would not give me an option to have myself and my welder and crew do the work. Whereas Benco, they will not install it. All they'll do is truck it to your location, and then you have to offload the truck, and then you build it. The Benco system, you can cut. They got basics. They got the basic stuff, basic catwalk, ladders, all that other stuff. Then you can customize it. And I know some guys, they customize it with a pipe rack on each tower, and that's how they run their piping. They just lay it on the racks that are pre-built. I have grounding units. My rail is not grounded and bonded, so I bond every rail car to my main grounding system. And so I put Civicon grounding units on each tower right across from my rail car, so I bond each individual rail car down. And so I just had them, I put out a drawing and I drew out what I wanted, where I wanted, and they made it happen. And so you're ever interested, call them, talk to one of their sales reps. I found them to be a very professional outfit. So Benco products. If you are looking for FR clothing that you don't have access to, one of my hardest things to find initially was a good FR rain gear. I found a company, it's called frsafety.com, and that's kind of an umbrella company, and there's several other companies in there. And that's where I get my FR rain gear. I prefer Dry Fire brand sweater, so that's where I buy my Dry Fire. They sell all kinds of things in there. Just another resource to look at, see what's out there. Don't be surprised what Amazon has to offer. Sometimes Amazon has some pretty good stuff too. That's where I buy all of my heavy winter parka and my heavy winter bib overalls. It's also where I bought my heavy winter boots that meet all the requirements that I need to have. There's also another company, if you're interested in valves, different kinds of valves, it's called Valve Torque, VALTORC.com. It's an American made company, everything's American made in there. I used to buy some of their ball valves. Their service is good and all that other stuff, but unless you are a distributor or have a distributor, and of course, you know how it is, you pay the full list. Like I said, their valves are very well made, they're very good. The only problem I ran into is their packings are very tight and they do not loosen up over time. Other than that, really good, 100% positive shut-off ball valves. So they were good. Now I want to talk about Corken. Go to Corken.com, because like I said, all my stuff's Corken, so that's all I'm going to deal with. Just go to Corken.com. On there you can get copies of owner's manuals, schematics on your compressors, on your pumps. There's training videos in there. There's videos where they list other products, other things that they offer to go along with it. And I can't go any farther without really mentioning all of the great benefit and help I have personally gotten, and my company has gotten from Corkin, from the people in that company. I'm only going to mention three, simply because I keep mentioning, which I want to. I don't want to insult anybody by forgetting to mention them, but George Jenkins, he's no longer with Corkin. So wherever George is at, you ever run into George, you just ran into a pretty terrific person. George, uh, over the phone, through email, actually he's come out on site at my place, helped me, helped diagnose, helped troubleshoot, helped me to improve. Another man, Don Crowder, Don and I become good friends over the years. He has come out to my place, helped diagnose things, helped me out. We exchange ideas, we exchange information. And then the guy who's the president of Corkin, Art Laszlo. Art's been out at my place. He has been the epitome of a concerned gentleman and a concerned business owner. And there's one thing that not just George Jenkins and not just Don Crowder, not just Art Laszlo, but all the other men that I've dealt with there at Corkin, they actually believe that Corkin products are the best products on the market. They actually believe that their stuff is the best that you can run. And they want you to feel the same way. So if you don't, if you're struggling, if you're frustrated, if you're not getting answers from your distributor that you bought from or other people, call them. Go to Corkin.com, get their phone number, or email them. Someone there will respond to you, because they want you to be as happy with their product as they are. And if it means them actually coming out on site, who knows, they may do it. They want to see you succeed. And you spend any time with them, and I will almost guarantee you that you will actually believe that they want you to succeed. And they want you to be happy with what products you've bought from them. And also part of Corkin.com, you can go to lcmeter.com. I've got LC meter, turbine meter. I've also got an LC eliminator, vapor eliminator strainer. Then you can go to TopTech, toptech.com, of course. Get in there and see what they offer. But once you get inside the IDEX family, get in there, it gets more and more personal and less distant. Because if you're running into a problem, I guarantee you, whoever you're dealing with there in Corkin probably personally knows somebody from LC Meter, knows somebody from TopTech, knows somebody from Viking, knows somebody from wherever that's part of inside their family of companies. And they can put you in contact with somebody. Not just a dead email address, but somebody. And they'll be happy to follow up. So I know I am not overselling this. And another thing is that I have found that has endeared me to the people of Corkin is that even though they're convinced their stuff is the best, they are not so arrogant as to assume that it can't be made better. And so I think you will, I hope that you do, if you do contact them, you will also sense that too, that they're there to help. They're not there to pat you on the head and patronize you. They're there to come alongside and give you advice and help in any way that they can. So, another company I want to address is Marshall Excelsior. I just go to marshallexcelsior.com. The only thing I get from that website is I download their complete catalog. And inside that complete catalog, get the digital copy. It is extensive. And you can go in there and you can get specifics, you can get part numbers. You get down inside there and you can also find rebuild parts, part numbers for the rebuild individual components. You can go in there and find flow charts for their valves, so I use that a lot. Another one I use only once, I just go there, it's Flex Italic. I use flanges. I use dozens and dozens of flanges in my system. Well, Flex Italic is a brand, is a manufacturer of spiral wound gaskets. It's FLEXITALLIC.com. Put in 2 L's, you get 1 L, and it's kind of an off-site that it's not what you want. Anyway, I go in there and I download their gasket reference guide. And in that reference guide, it shows different brands. There's different colors, colored stripes on different spiral wound gaskets for different things. What do you want it to do? What do you need it to do? And then they also got in there bolt diameters for different, whether you got a 1 inch, 3 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch flange, however big your flange is, it's got a bolt diameter. And then it also has a list of the type of bolts, the length that you need. And this is what I do. I go down in there and I pull that down, and then I print out what I need, and then I go and I have it laminated. So that I got this laminated, and so we're going out and we're taking apart flanges and we're putting them back together. And it may be just myself, it may be me and somebody, or maybe several of us out there. And so I've got several of these, and they have the bolting pattern. And so I'll hand these out to whoever's doing the stuff. That way I know that when they're putting them back and they're retightening them in the proper sequence. And Flex Italic's got these bolting patterns for ones way up, 24, 36 bolts, depending on the diameter. They've got them in there. My manways are like, I think, 24 bolts, 1.25 inch diameter bolts in one of my manways, and then it's got the torquing pattern, tightening pattern on that. And then it's also got, for the 300-pound flanges, it's got the bolts. How many bolts, what diameter, what length. Yeah, here's another one. This one goes up to 20 and 24 bolts. And then this one is the 8, 12, and 16 bolts. I print them out. I laminate them. Same thing I do with my cork and compressor manual. There's pages I want, pages that I use a lot, a reference. I just cut them out, go down to Staples, get them laminated. That way I can take them with me when I'm working on a compressor. I don't care how greasy they get, I don't care how oily they get. I just wipe them down when it's all done, and we're done. In the last video, the first introductory video, I mentioned NFPA books. I want to share or show you a picture of them. This is the 2022 version, NFPA 704. It's a standard system for the identification of hazards of materials for emergency response. NFPA, National Fire Prevention. Of course, this is going to be, so you get your volunteer fireman or your city fireman, whoever it is going to show up. You and I know what's in our containers. You and I know what's in our bottles. They don't. So that's the whole purpose of it. What do you do? And another thing this covers is it shows, if you ever wonder, how big should the lettering be on your tanks? Well, it goes in there and it says how far away do you want your lettering to be read. And if it's 300 feet, 500 feet or more, then it says your letters need to be so many inches tall. You have your normal 704 diamond that'll go on a propane tank, the 240. They're standard, they're like 15 inch. Well, that's good. I think for 300 feet, I think. But if your sign needs to be read from farther away, you got to go bigger. I forgot. Of course, there's something else I forgot. Another company I use is Safety Signs, safetysigns.com. You go up in there and you can have custom made some decals, and I get my 240 diamonds at 24 inches instead of 15 inch. Because from where my tanks are to where the road is, that's how big I need my letters to be, so that a first responder stopping at the road without coming down my drive can look down there and read what I've got. Same thing with my lettering. Some of my lettering is 6 inch, some of my lettering is 4 inch. You have to decide. This book will help you decide that. And then other things you can kind of see behind me there. That's my steel fire cabinet. That's where I keep my chemicals that I have inside here. And that's kind of a general breakdown of certain requirements. And I have a composite, which is one of the things I'm allowed to do in the codes, is I can either list all of my commodities in there individually, or I can do a composite. And so you do the highest number rating of all of them that are out there, and that's what that little one down the bottom is. It's a composite. That's how I cover that. This other one here is 58. It's a handbook. It's the actual handbook. So it's an actual book. I strongly recommend that. It just gives you some answers in there that otherwise you don't have access to. It's everything that's in the code book, just expanded. And then I also mentioned OSHA. The OSHA, I couldn't remember. I got this from Amazon. It's 29 CFR 1910 OSHA. I don't know about you. I am not committing this to memory. But I have to have some of it. I have to know. And there's some really good information. You just got to take your time. Go through it. I strongly recommend with any of the code books, buy yourself a set of different colored highlighters, and read through, and everything that matters, highlight it. And on these bigger books, maybe use some sticky notes because you got a book. Here's a real winner. 49 CFR, parts 100 to 185, hazmat. It's another. There's a lot. The bulk of it doesn't apply to you and me, but it's there. And there's a lot of good information. Just take your time, read it, and make them work for you. They seem intimidating, all that, but make them work for you. Find out what applies. And like I said earlier, cut yourself a lot of slack. It's not your job to know everything initially. It's your job to know enough write it out, apply it, and as you grow, you expand, you write that out, and you follow it, and you live it, and that's how we go. I don't know where mine will be. I live another 5 years, another 10 years. I hope it expands a lot. I hope my understanding grows a lot. And I can find more things in there. I bought those last two hazmat books, or the OSHA and the hazmat, I bought them from Amazon. Like $70. There's other 49 CFR, that different numbers. Get them if you want. I don't see a need. Now that I say that, I'll probably regret saying it, but as of now, I don't see a need for anything but parts 100 through 185. One thing also in this introductory that I want to get across is a simple concept that carries over to every single aspect of your job. I will mention this again when I get into my inspecting rail cars video, and then when I do my video on how to hook up and disconnect a rail car and how to take readings on a rail car. And the principle is always do your job with your eyes and your ears open all the time. Keep it open while you're walking around to make sure, of course, no trips, slips, falls, hazards, all that. But use all of your senses as you go around and do your job. It's easy to get into a zone and just go and do and then go back and try not to pay attention, because there's also a part that says, if I didn't see it, it did happen, and if I didn't see it happen, then I don't have to waste my time fixing it. There's too many people in the market already in this industry that live like that. And you and I are the unfortunate victims of that. And victim's a terrible word. I hate that word. We're the ones that got to put up with it. And so, do it. When it comes to your rail cars, walk around them, look. You specifically want to look for things, because this is also how you do yourself a favor. If there are problems and you identify it and you document it, you are insulating yourself from severe repercussions down the road. A simple thing is, you go out and there's a problem with a rail car. Those Gomers shipped you a rail car and it was obviously had a defect in it. And that happens a lot. So they send you a car with an obvious defect. And you get it and you look at it and you say, ugh, they sent me a piece of garbage, garbage in, garbage out, I'm just going to ship it. Nobody cared, nobody will care now. Well, if somebody does care, let's say the refinery shipped you a defect car, you offload it, you reverse route it, and it goes right back there. And now there's a new guy inspecting cars, and he says, oh my gosh, this loser at this terminal sent me a car with a defect. I'm going to have to send it to a shop. Somebody's going to pay for that shopping. Or something else that could be less fun is the FRA decides to do a random inspection, because your car is probably going to sit somewhere in a siding for a day or two. And well, the FRA just loves to go to these sidings, and they'll go walk that siding and they find a defect and they order that car to go to a shop. Somebody's going to pay for that car to be shopped. And last I was told, and it could be all BS, but it sounds about right, is that Norfolk Southern's minimum charge is $3,000 to take a car that's been routed one way and then send it someplace else. And then I was also told that if a car ends up to a shop that hasn't been pre-authorized and they haven't given their okay, there's another fee on top of that. And of course there is. Everybody charges a fee. But if you go and you document it, and you prove that you found it, and you prove that you notified people, that is your, practically your get out of jail free card, or as close to it as you can get. Because it's like, yeah, I found it. I told you. I notified it. I emailed whoever it is that you need to email, whoever it is that you deal with, whoever gives you, sent you your BOLs or whatever it is you got, and say, I notified you. And I wasn't told any different, and you didn't tell me whatever. But the fact that you caught it and you documented it, that's about the best insurance you have to protect yourself. And that goes back to being an advocate for yourself. Do what's going to keep you in the game the longest, and that is document. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, use your senses. Several times I've had cars show up into my yard. I go out and I do my initial car inspection out in the yard, and you smell propane. Not supposed to smell propane in a rail car sitting out in the yard. And so it's easy to just say, well, it didn't smell that bad. Or I'll wait till it gets under my towers and I'll deal with it then. Of course, we both know we'll forget. So you go there and you find it, and each and every time a car showed up to my place leaking propane, it was either a valve packing that was leaking, or it was a plug that was leaking and the valve itself had backed off, the hand wheel had backed off, and it was leaking through around the plug. So keep your eyes open, catch that stuff, look. When you do a rail car inspection, look. Actually look. I do one actual, not aggressive, but because the code says you have to inspect your cars from ground level. But you do one fairly comprehensive walk around of each and every car, and then I do a second one as they're placed under my towers and before I release them. Every once in a while I find a defect on the second inspection that I missed on the first. Just walk around. Pay attention. Keep your eyes open. And if you don't have a smartphone, take pictures. Go get a cheap camera, take pictures, save it, document it. And do it that way when you're doing the same thing when you do rail car readings. There's all kinds of problems that can arise. Protect yourself. Pay attention. And try to catch things before they ever have a chance to hurt you. And when you do that on a regular basis, you will just develop a nice, healthy habit. And eventually, and initially, usually I found my personal experience, when the more conscientious I am, the more pain in the ass other people think I am, because nobody else complains about these cars. Nobody else has ever said anything that's ever been wrong. Well, can't be, you're just making stuff up, or you're too picky. And it's like, well, all right, I'm too picky. So what? I'd rather be too picky than be blind like everybody else that tends to touch the cars. But as you consistently do it, and you document it, and you prove it, eventually you're going to establish a history and a pattern that, even though they may not want to hear what you have to say, they can't deny what it is that you have to say. And that also becomes a defense. That becomes how you set yourself up to succeed and not to fail. And then what you do with a car when you have a problem, well, we'll discuss that. And then how I deal with it is going to be the same as and completely different from how you deal with it. So I think that's all I wanted to add to this, but do yourself the best favors and watch out and protect future you. Today you just wants to get through the day, especially if it's nasty weather. You just want to get through the day, get your job done, go home. But we can't let today sabotage tomorrow. And that's why we walk around with our eyes and our ears open and our senses aware, so we can catch things and deal with them before they become big things. So, thank you.